Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new week and a brand new podcast of Life of an Amateur. This week, we have a very, very special guest. You see that man sitting there in the nice shirt. And as you can tell from behind him, it's none other than the owner and CEO of Singularity, Atle. How you doing, man?
Hey man, I'm doing great. Just busy days. Packing up everything for a lot of teams before a lot of travel starting tomorrow. So yeah, everything is good. How about you?
A lot of merch. I'm good, thank you, bro. I'm good.
So a bit corporate in my dressing today. Usually, like 1 out of 7 days, I'm looking corporate. Six out of 7 days, I'm just merged the fuck up. To be honest,
This is the finish work, come home tired, clothes. That's that one. Of course, guys, if you are new to this podcast, I'll explain what it is that we do before we jump deep into this podcast. So Life of an Amateur is a way to explore different people in our scene and their backgrounds and their life outside of gaming. A lot of people know people through Twitter, what they post, etc., and their general life of, whether you're a player of scrimming or a CEO. But it's nice to know a little bit about their inside life. And that's what we plan to do with this podcast. And as always, we will be taking questions in the chat if they are relevant, or of course, if I see them and I pick them up. So feel free to put your questions in if you do have any for this man. But just to kick things off, we will ask this man, what was your life like growing up?
That's a great question. When should we start? From kindergarten?
Whenever you could.
I've always been competitively minded. I was pretty much a sports jock, just like everyone else. And then I was introduced into the world of gaming like in a pretty early age. I had a stepdad that were huge computer enthusiast, so I've been, I would say, gaming all my life, but it didn't really fill much in my life until I started going into esports. After school, and I went straight to business gymnasium. It's called in Denmark. Was there for 3 years, finished it, and then basically I've been an entrepreneur ever since. I founded my first company when I was 18. I've always been kind of like good at gathering people together, so it was pretty natural for me, whether it was crazy vacation to Sunny Beach or Lorat de Mar or Alanya, or whether it was the guy who grabbed everyone to get into the clubs in the city. I hosted around 1,500 events independently that I funded myself, basically from scratch. So I've always been pretty used to working with sponsors and other companies to create win-win synergies for everyone. And then I pretty much went into and then I had a brief DJ career of 2.5 years where I basically played everything you could imagine playing in Denmark, and also played together with artists like Tiesto and Avicii across Europe. Pretty much had a label deal and all these kind of things, but I've always been more interested in actually hosting events than being the center of it. So that's pretty much what I've been doing before esports and gaming. Went into esports and gaming in 2016, basically. I had half a year trial in where I kind of created a, what can you call it, like a test esports company, where I tested out a lot of hypotheses to actually get to know what I was getting myself into before going full in. Ever since that, it's been a busy ride, I would say.
So did you initially enter into esports gaming as a CEO, or did you take the path of playing or anything like that?
I straight up founded the organization. So that was pretty much how I got into it. Like
Yeah.
I think I've always kind of been the spearhead of whatever I've done.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of different projects, and I've had my ups and downs 100%. Like I can give a great example. What was this back in 2000? What has been 2015? I created an artificial snow park in the city I was living, with like huge like snow cannons and everything.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, supposed to be like a Christmas miracle. Like, but yeah, then it rained for 25 out of 31 days in December, and that was a costly affair. But you
Jesus.
live, you learn, and
Yeah.
at the same time, I've never been skiing myself. Like I created the park, but I didn't have time to try and ski myself. So yeah, like I've been doing a lot of, to be honest, a bit ambitious, crazy projects,
Yeah.
but kind of been exploring uh, every area of what you would call event business, probably. So been doing everything from a creative open house event to filling a lot of nightclubs and off location events.
What age would you say that you noticed you had that business mind and that entrepreneurship sense?
I think I actually kind of already always had it, but I think when I was around 15, I
Yeah.
hosted my first event at a club where you needed to be 21. So
Makes sense.
but yeah, so I kind of already back then kind of centered myself as a go-to guy if you wanted to grab tickets. back
Yeah.
then Back then everything was not as online as everything is now, of course. So back then I remember sitting at a fancy cafe with a 500 tickets that I sold, like for cash, and then went with a big basically black bag to the guys that basically took me in under their wings for starters, and then I basically started doing my own thing very early, because I kind of didn't make sense to have a boss. I think is the best way to say it.
No, I like that mindset. I like that mindset. So what gave you your initial kick into esports then? Or is it something you've sort of stumbled just upon?
I, I think the best way to say it is back when I scouted esports, or I would say professional gaming in general, I kind of scouted it as another way to create an event.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, I'm a pretty proactive guy. I like to execute as soon as I have a vision. And if I
Yeah.
walk down the street, I'll have 15 ideas when I get back home to what could be done better. But so basically, I kind of scouted the Danish esports market, and it took me less than 24 hours. And already then, I kind of knew that I was probably a little bit ahead of the timing, which is the perfect time to enter, no matter what you're doing. Because if you hit the right timing, then it's all about, I would say, uh, having the staying power to stay in the scene and grow with the market. And then, even though you don't necessarily know how to surf, then it's easier to go into the ocean and wait for the wave to start,
Yeah.
dragging you in. And that's pretty much how we started. And the it's the wave that we're on right now, together with the market, of course.
So where was the change then? Would you think? So obviously you said you've seen it esports as it was sort of another thing you could hold an event at, etc. Then I imagine you're seeing it as it was much more than that than what you thought, and it was a big wide world.
like like to make a long story short, so back when I kind of did the market analyst, and I found out that every way in Danish esports kind of led to two persons. I was kind of like, holy shit, I'm just gonna call these persons Google. And I called these two persons, and basically they were like, how the fuck did you get my number? I was like, yeah, I found it on Google. Sorry. Are you this guy? And then I had some introduction talks. I think the way I approached esports from the start was with I'm a very passionate guy when it comes to in generally following my teams and my talents. And when I go into a project, I only do it 100%. I simply can't do it less.
Yeah.
Most people would probably say I do it more, but like for me, it's all a scale from 1 to 100, so you can't really do it more than 100. So basically, what happened was that after doing the research, 2 weeks after, I had a 5,000 people venue, and had set up a logo, a brand, bought 8 different website pages, and I was ready to launch and roll out like 2 weeks after that. That I had, like, what would we call it, like an epiphany or something like that. And then at the same time, I was a bit stuck maybe in my, what can you say, my old network or everything else I was doing. So back then I was like in the commodity of Aarhus, the second biggest city in Denmark. I was allowed to do basically a festival within the huge city festival of the year. So it was something I was kind of looking to do like all my life, kind of make, that one event that, you could do for the rest of your life, like a festival. And so I kind of had to grab that opportunity, I felt. And at the same time, I felt I was maybe a bit too ambitious on my esports project, and also because Denmark is not that big. So I kind of decided that I would, wait a year before I would go into it, and then do the festival event. And I did the festival event, and it was like, I would say it was the best kind of way I could imagine, like basically stopping doing events, like in general, because 2 weeks after I decided that I was going to go with the festival project over creating an event. Uh, I woke up one night and I was like, dude, you got to get on the timing train, and it's now. And I was like, so I did the most stereotype thing. I called my best Asian friend, and I was like, dude, who do I need to get a hold of to get a CSGO team? And I thought he was gonna like point fingers and say, fuck you, you like racist stereotype. Dude. But on the opposite, he kind of surprised me, and he was like, yeah, so like 2 weeks ago I was at this LAN event. It was not that big of an event. We came second place, but the guys that beat us, they destroyed us. And I think they're from like the city, so maybe you should just have a look at this. And then yeah, I kind of did the same. I did my quick research. 1 hour later, I called 3 guys. I think it was the first time somebody outside of their like phone like contact list actually called them. Like they were like, "So what are you trying to sell?" And I'm like, "I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm trying to ask if you want to become a like professional Counter-Strike player." And yeah, of course they grabbed the opportunity, and yeah, pretty much the rest is a little bit of, I would say, then I did the test organization for half a year, where these guys entered into. Kind of got my footing into the Danish, especially CS:GO scene. And then we founded I founded Team Singularity with 3 other guys, in the first quarter of, actually second quarter of 2016. So
it was May, wasn't it?
April. But,
April.
yeah, like we founded Team Singularity to basically launch it at Copenhagen Games 2016.
Right.
Copenhagen Games has always been, what can you say, like the biggest talent event in Denmark. Not necessarily the biggest pro event. At least it's not anymore. And yeah, one year later, we won Copenhagen Games as pretty much one of the biggest upsets in at least Copenhagen Games history, and we entered the top 25 on the like world rankings in Counter-Strike and jumped like 118 positions, I think it was, in like the world rankings back then. So
Jesus Christ, that's a big jump.
yeah, that was like, I would say that was our first like commercial breakthrough into the
Yeah.
market. And at the same time, after we won, 3 days later, when everybody got back, I got a mail. This was just back when esports agent were starting to become a thing. So of course I helped some agents get in touch with my players, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 3 days later I received a mail that they had decided that they would not continue in Team Singularity when contracts expired because they felt underpaid.
Oh
Uh,
my God.
so yeah, like with the first like commercial breakthrough came like the first bullet to the head.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we had just expanded into League of Legends and Dota. So I would say we kind of quickly realized that since we couldn't just buy the best team in the world, we kind of always had to have a good story to tell,
Mm-hmm.
and that's very hard if you're focused in on one gaming title,
Yeah.
unless you're on top of it, of course. um, so yeah, basically, that's a bit of a background into that as well.
So was CS:GO the first esport you guys ever entered then?
Yeah, it was, and
And then
like we had CS:GO for a year before we entered anything else.
oh, so you just stuck with CS:GO for the whole year?
Yeah.
Is that more beneficial, do you think? More of a
Mm,
focus?
like I think we just like when we founded Singularity, we founded it with a 20K euro investment.
Yeah.
So it was I would say it was a very humble kind of
Mhm. Yeah.
grassroots beginning. So we didn't want to, didn't want to, we wanted to make the money last as long as possible. It basically it basically lasted 9 months, and then we started a credit line, and then we have had numerous private races in the company, and out of the 4 founding partners, then I'm the only one left in the company, um, which was pretty much also expected from the start, I think, from everyone. But yeah, it's been a chaotic, hectic journey, and I guess my experience, like both from hosting events and being a DJ for that matter, you kind of live it. You need to live it as a lifestyle,
Yeah.
otherwise you would just get stressed, very stressed. So yeah, not that I'm not necessarily stressed, but I enjoy what I do. I've always enjoyed everything I've done, um, whether it's been in one business area or the other. Basically, ever since I was done with school, I've just been grinding whatever I felt like was natural. Next step for me.
Did you ever think, so thinking back to when you started Singularity with the other 4 founders, including you, did you think that you'd be here now?
Yeah, I did. But
Great answer.
but I would say like even though everything has gone really fast, I would actually
Yeah.
have expected that I maybe was a bit further.
Mm.
But it's part of the journey, and I'd rather be optimistic than pessimistic.
I get that. Singularity. Where
Yeah.
did the name come from?
Oof. So we can find a lot of different stories on this. I would say like my personal favorite, and like basically, I think the thing that was the most important part for me was that it was something that people would naturally be talking about in the future,
Yeah.
because like if you see a lot of our Singularity branding, then you would see like, except for the roll-ups back here, then usually we only brand it with the logo, so we don't necessarily write Singularity above or below it. So often it's for us, it's more about creating a brand that when people in the future will hear Singularity, they will automatically affiliated with us,
Yeah.
even though it's something completely different, or not completely different, but is the future. It's AI, it's tech. It kind of had a good ring to it. Um, since we were a Danish organization, I was very afraid to come up with some name that just wouldn't sound good
Yeah.
when people were casting it in English, for that matter, or that was too Danish or Nordic. So that was like the primary factor. Back then, to be honest, I've always been a huge Elon Musk fan. Like, I don't really have any idols, but if there was one guy to lead the planet that I should bet all my money on, I would give them to Elon. So, and the only thing, like, I think this is back from very like an old interview that Elon gave. He basically says that his only fear in life is when AI will take over and basically when the singularity will happen. And I was like, okay, if it's the only thing Elon is scared of, then that's what we're going with.
Yeah, man. That's probably the best definition I've ever heard of how a name come about. I like that. So going on from CS:GO and stepping into your new esports, was that like a scare factor for you? Was you worried or?
Uh, uh, just thinking back of it, like, to be honest, I've always been pretty much a MOBA guy myself. I would say my profound interest in gaming in general came from like Warcraft 3 and like the customs and everything that was in basically the Warcraft 3 expansion, the Frozen Throne. So I would say for me, it felt very natural, especially going into Dota,
Mhm.
because that was an interest of my own as well. Not that CS:GO wasn't an interest; like, I've always been gaming FPS games as well, but
Yeah.
probably more been into the, I would say, Blizzard universe than FPS games. But then basically, and then League of Legends. That was with the Danish team. That was very compelling. And at the same time, back then, there was basically, what can you call it? A circuit just in. You couldn't get into like LEC or LCS for that matter, but they had something called CSQ, and basically
Yeah.
we actually won that together with I think the team was called Red Bull Gaming. And at the same time, when we announced the Dota team, 1 week later we qualified for an event in Taipei, which was and with a Polish team. I like and and it was like 2 weeks after we qualified that they were about to fly down there. And I remember flying from Copenhagen airport to I think it was Warsaw airport, just to meet the players in the airport, to sign the contracts and then fly back. Um, I don't know what the fuck I was doing back then, but you live, you learn, you get smarter. But was it was a good experience. But I didn't go myself to the actual event. Back then, the budget was a bit,
Yeah.
on stretch.
So going on from what you said earlier about people always say you give more than 100%, obviously on your scale with 0 to 100 and nothing more. What is your free time like? Is there any?
I don't have free time. Like, to be completely honest, like,
Mm.
if I were to give an advice, especially to, I would say, future owners, or it can
Mhm.
be people who's already have founded an organization, and I think we all go with the same dream. Everyone who starts an esports organization, we all want to, have the feeling of owning a sports club, because
Yeah.
I could imagine for many people, especially myself, that's always been a dream. When I went into esports, I said I'm gonna create the next Ajax Amsterdam. Just in esports and just on a global level instead. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I would say like one of the best advices I can give is you will have to sacrifice a lot of things, especially the first 3 years, depending on what background you come from. Like I came from a, what can you call it, ignorant background that didn't know much about the esports universe or the streaming universe for that matter.
Yeah.
But who always had a passion for gaming and a passion for startups and branding for that matter. And I would say like I don't really have any free time, to be honest. I work around 15 to 18 hours a day mostly. I sleep around 4 or 5 hours. For me, it's not a problem. I know for others, it might be a factor. I've been used to it, for the last probably 8 years, anyway. So it doesn't really affect me that much. I have a lot of friends that would say I have ADHD, but I never got the diagnosis. Uh, so so for me, not that I don't want a private life, but right now I need to live Singularity to take it to the potential and to the level that I wanted to. But yeah, like I would say to people that expect that they can do both running an organization, like at least a multi-game global organization, and for example have a girlfriend at the same time, you're gonna have a bad time. It's like to be honest, like you kind of need to be able to focus, and you need to be able to be agile to be a fixer. When people ask what I do on my daily job or what I do in Singularity in general, I say I fix. Like I'm a fixer. Like tell me your problem, I'll give you a fix. That sounded wrong, but tell me your problem and I'll fix it. Basically, the most important part for me is that my players can thrive and that I can create a framework that is, I would say, original and is something that both I can thrive in, but also that gives the potential for rising stars to show their potential.
I get that. So starting out, did you have any of them issues, a girlfriend or whatever, when starting this whole journey?
Like to be completely honest, when just back when I went into esports, I came out of like I was 26. I
Mhm.
had been in a relationship around 3 years at that time,
Yeah.
and no, it was kind of a bad breakup, probably,
Mhm.
depending on who you ask. But yeah, sounded wrong. But like in general, I kind of felt okay. I need to do something new. I need to, I need to get my mind off. I've already tried everything I wanted to try in the event business and music for that matter. So I was kind of like, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
What could I see myself in? And also kind of said like, okay, like you had the experience with the girlfriend, whether you get a new girlfriend at this time or you wait 3 4 years, it's going to be the same subjects you're going to talk about. It's going to be creating a family. It's going to be all these values that
Yeah.
I value highly, but that I've also just actively decided that that's for my mid 30s, to be honest. So I still have a lot of years right now to push into this, and then I like I've always had the feeling that I was not necessarily always going to be living in Denmark, and at the same time I felt like if I settled down with girlfriend, then I would
Yeah.
have made a commitment. And I don't want to be in a relationship where I can't do it 100. I
Hmm.
Again, a little back to do it
Yeah.
100 or do it a 50. Like, because I only have bad experiences with relationships that I haven't been able to put in everything I wanted into, and it hurts both me and the person on the other side, of course. And if there's one thing I hate, it is to hurt other people. To be honest, especially feelings.
Yeah.
So I always try to, and yeah, sometimes of course you just want to, lay down with a girl and get a head scratch and go to bed. But no, I think there's plenty of girls out there that are single as well and looking for the same. So you just gotta find somebody else who's, I would say, career minded, and then maybe it will work out to a relationship in the end. But better not to get the hopes up before you feel like you're at the place where you want to be.
Completely understand that. Probably the best description I've heard on how to get rid of girlfriends as well. I like that one.
No, sorry,
Figure
sorry to if there's any girls who's watching right
150.
now. Yeah,
It's
no,
either 150. They just gotta learn it.
yeah, no, I just believe that if you're gonna have a healthy relationship, it's gonna be 100 from both sides of the
Yeah.
tables. And if you
100%.
can, if you already know you can't give it as much as you want, then don't engage in it. It's just, you're just gonna have a bad time. Like,
How much time did you put into all of this trying to kickstart it?
how much time?
Yeah, would you say like the same hours you work now, or?
So it's kind of hard. Like, I would say the first year, like, if we take it from when we started in 2016 and then to 2017, I would say I put probably around 50 hours every week back then.
Yeah.
This was like, I was doing a lot of event stuff at the same
Yeah.
time, and the festival and everything. And then basically what happened was that I think in when we won Copenhagen Games in 2017, like a year after we started, basically everything kind of took off and escalated. So I would say back when we started going into other games, and pretty much ever since, like, back then I was probably putting in around 70 to 80 hours a week, like in 2017 to 2018. And then when we kind of came to 2018, like in the middle of 2017, I actually took an employment in a IT grossist company in Denmark, to kind of get to know the metrics behind. So how does these kind of suppliers, potential sponsors, like all the companies that are
Yeah.
operating, you know, on the like gaming and esports, and using that as a influencer marketing, um, like, how do they operate, like what do they value, like how do you create like sales synergies and win-win synergies all around. And also, because it wasn't something I could read myself to, then I kind of needed to get the experience,
Hmm.
and at the same time I needed a steady income so that I could pay my my own stuff, as well, because I wasn't having an income in Singularity.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, I was having a full time job, but I was um, at the IT grocery company. I was asked to basically create a sister company in between, like the B2C and the B2B market. I was asked to create like an esports or gaming focused division in the company. It was called DCS Esports. It was direct computer supplies esports. And then basically I created a lot of different solutions, both for a lot of Danish gaming events like computer rentals, and also for a lot of European events, and everyone from GLU to DreamHack has been, and ESL as well has actually been using our solutions over time. Um, and back then I kind of this was when it started to get mental. like in terms of like the work. So from mid 2017, and let's just fast forward it to mid mid 2018. I probably worked like 40 hours at the grocer's company, and around 100 hours in Team Singularity, because everything was scaling. So yeah, as you can hear, I basically didn't have time to have a life, like on the other side. It was a rough, some rough years, because when you have two jobs, you have two focuses,
Yeah.
whether or not you want it. But what needed to be done was needed to be done, and I was willing to go the extra mile for it, and got a lot of good learnings along the way, and a lot of good relationships with different brands and all this stuff. So it was definitely worth the time. And then basically, if we kind of fast forwarded to like mid 2019, basically last year around summertime, everything was so busy, and as you can hear, I couldn't really put in any more hours than I was already doing. So my board of directors in Team Singularity basically asked me to quit my job on the side, and to basically be employed by Team Singularity. So I started getting a salary in Team Singularity from start September last year. So yeah, it feels good to be able to put every fucking waking hour into this. But it's kind of a baby, so have to teach it to walk and kind of grow with the market.
Where would you say you're at the moment? Are we walking? Are we crawling? Or are we running?
It's a good question. Like we're starting to walk, but still, still in an early stage. I feel we have such so many things we would like to roll out. So yeah, be on the lookout.
Awesome. I think one of the biggest things as well that come out on Twitter, sorry, on Twitter, was that on Twitter, on Twitter was the fact, about the new offices you have, and we can see some of it behind you. The logos on the wall and everything. And obviously, before this, you gave me a tour. I can say, people, it's very, very nice, and it's actually it's clean as well. So it's very clean.
Yeah,
But,
like I think the most important thing for us is we want to project that you can take things to the next level,
yeah,
because it also attracts, let's say, people from the next level. They it's easier to understand a gaming center that is built up as a club, that is completely clean, and where you just feel like you can actually be at comfort. And yeah, this is our gaming offices, and then we have like an office as well. And then Hydra Esport, which is kind of our, what can you call it, brother or sister
yeah,
company, which is running like the esports club, where you can basically, so you have a membership, you pay around 60 euros a month, and then you have 2.5 hours training a week together with a coach in a, either 5-person or 10-person room, depending on what level you are. We have our own developed elo system to kind of determine, it's not on age, it's on skill level, alone. And right now we have around 650 members across 4 different gaming centers here.
that's awesome, man. Someone put in the chat, and we was getting to this, so everyone can calm down now. Let's talk Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. Yay.
So when was your first step or venture into Call of Duty? Was it last year?
Nah, it was. It must have been. When was that? I think it started like late 2017.
Oh, okay.
where I was basically talking to a player called Olsen, a Danish player. I think most of our teams and divisions have started with a Danish focus. Other if there has been like a really good international entry. Now it's much more about the international, but yeah, we got into Call of Duty back then, and then we actually won the Copenhagen Games 2018 event, which was the first time I met Toby Kleenex as well.
He's in the chat.
There's Toby in the chat.
Yeah, he said hi Atle earlier, and he said, "Can I come and visit the S&G boot camp again?"
He's always welcome. But I'm coming to Toronto. No, I actually I'm not, Toby. I'm sorry.
You've been sold
I'll be in the States though, but I'm in Dallas for the Apex Legends major when the Toronto event is going. But yeah, I'll see Toby soon enough. You know Toby.
Talking of Toby, obviously the last year in Call of Duty, making it to champs, what was that feeling like?
Was the best feeling, like to be completely honest. Like it was such a young and hungry team, and you just felt like the chemistry was there. Everyone was very humble to work with, and it makes my job a lot easier because as long as people listen, it's a much easier job to do. I would say a positive impact, both like in terms of like motivation and everything. But yeah, that was a good time.
And then obviously starting after Modern Warfare as well. You're already back to back Open champions for the CDC.
Yep.
So you're still growing strong. You've still got the young hunger there.
Yeah, to be honest, I was a bit sad that we couldn't go to the Atlanta event. I know some of our players were a bit sad as well. But like in terms of visa and in terms of like looking at the broad picture of all this season, then it just wasn't worth like going to Atlanta, go back to Europe, go to Paris, from Paris to Los Angeles, and then basically the full grind in Los Angeles, and but yeah, now we're going to Paris this week and then straight to Los Angeles, and after Los Angeles we're going to Dallas, where we basically rented a huge Airbnb, so that the guys kind of have a base of operation, and then we'll fly out every weekend in March and April to the hometown events.
Awesome, man. One more question from the chat before we wrap this up. How do you get a bunch of merch sales?
What do you want?
Well, yeah, that's the good question. What do you want, my man? I can't really pronounce your name. Winavi, I'm gonna go with. So depends what you want.
I know what
this one's the king. Here we go.
So I think this is like the most asked piece. So we just got these home, which are like really nice.
They are fresh.
Pretty fresh. Other than that, well, let's go to the merch stand over here and see what we can find. Like there is the reflective jacket, of course. The leather man as well. It's nice. This new vibey jacket is awesome as well. Like we have so much, to be completely honest. But I'm sorry that our web shop currently doesn't support all the, I would say, limited edition pieces. But in start April, I think it will be. Everything should be available. And there will be everything from bikinis to jackets,
speedos.
So, like we actually have it all. Like I think we have around 40 pieces of merchandise that haven't been released yet. Like we also have like gloves and everything. So yeah, whatever you like.
That's awesome.
1 month, I'll make it happen.
Everyone be ready. We'll take one more final question because he wasn't here earlier. You have answered this, but I'd say just briefly touch up for the little man. How did you get S&G to where it is today? 100%.
I think to be completely honest, it's all about being humble and putting in the hours that is needed. Never say you're too good to do anything. Just somebody has to clean the shit. Do what you need to do to get to the level where you want to be. Sooner or later everything will work out, and it will be that probably adventure that you would imagine it to be from the start. Basically what I've done and what I will keep doing is I'll keep doing my best to the best of my skill sets and knowledge, and just keep grinding until we hit the top.
Awesome, man. That was such the best way to close. I like that. So if you are an org owner starting up, take that advice on board. 100%, nothing less, or you're not going to have your nice little stand-ups and your logo on the wall behind your head.
Yeah, thanks.
But guys, for this week's Life of an Amateur, that is going to be it. We're going to wrap it up here. Of course, thanks to Atle for coming on and taking your time out of your busy day and talking to us, man.
It's all good, but yeah, thank you so much for the time, and it was a pleasure to be here. And yeah, I'll hopefully see you soon.
100%, man. And the only way to end this is, can you give us some disco time?
Some disco time, yeah.
Disco time.
Okay. So this is like the weirdest flex, but everyone who's a gamer, they will 100% relate that everything that is RGB is better. So first, this is like the clinical light. It's getting a bit like, this is the Singularity.
You're warming up in the night.
And then we'll go, okay, so where do we have the disco mode? I think it's the next one. Yeah, this one. Then we can speed it up, basically. We can make it brighter. I think we need to take it, Yeah, this is pretty much the disco light. And then when I'm annoyed of my players that is sitting boot camping, then I just starting doing disco light in their room as well. So if we do like this, then you can kind of see it starting to flash inside his room as well, like in here. Let's see if we can stress him the fuck out. So this is how you're being an annoying boss, I think, is the best way. This is how we stress test when we have people boot camping here. We have Greg sitting here. He's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm screaming. Why are you so annoying? But yeah, he's ready for IEM anyway. So
awesome, man.
And by the way, thank you for the trophy.
Shout out to you, Ruben.
Yeah, shout out to Ruben.
for the trophy. But as we said, guys, that's going to conclude this week's episode. Once again, thank you, Atle, for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and we wish you all the success moving forward. And I'm pretty sure all of us are still going to keep up to board with Singularity, because you do some amazing stuff over there. But guys, thank you to everybody that tuned in, to everybody hit the follow button, and of course don't forget season 2 for the EG season 2 Modern Warfare is still available to sign up, I believe, so make sure you go sign up to that, get yourselves in. Me and the usual gang, I suppose, will be back, I'm pretty sure, but who knows. But for now, thanks everybody tuned in, and we'll catch you all next week when we have another interesting guest.
Cheers, mate.